Okay, so I'm back again to kind of give you a overview of the load process. So as you can see, I've got the meter hooked up to one of these new batteries. They're not new batteries, but they're in better condition. And as you can see right now, it's showing on the meter that it's about 7.9 volts, which again, that's higher than my average cell in the battery that I showed you. The average cell was 7.5 volts. So if I were to put this battery in there, I run the risk of getting, the voltage error saying that, the voltages are too high in the battery. Because when they're all wired up together, it just sees one voltage because they're all wired in series. But this battery is, I just wouldn't put it in there with that high of a voltage. I would try to drop it down a little bit, ideally to 7.5 volts. But this is what I basically got from the seller, which a battery was at 7.9 volts. So this load bank tester, which I got from Harbor Freight, if I can stop moving the camera around, you'll see that it can provide a load on a battery up to 500 amps. But I'm only going to put about a 10 amp load on this battery. So I, just connected it positive to negative. And what will happen is as I turn this knob, it'll put about 10 amps on the battery, and the voltage will drop down. As you can see here, it's almost about 8 volts, which is what the meter is saying, but we need it to get down to about 7.5 to match the other batteries. So if I turn this on, you'll start to see the voltage drop. So you'll see now it's dropping. And it barely moves. So the beep means that, you really shouldn't put a load on the battery for more than, I think, 15 seconds. But as you can see, it did drop the load. It did drop the voltage of the battery down to 7.8 volts. So if we were to continue doing this for a while, it would drop the battery down to about 7.5. Now, right now it's saying 7.5, but as soon as we take the load off of it, it'll pop back up to 7.6 or something like that. See, so now it's back up to 7.7. Again, a lot lower than 7.9, but we still kind of want to drop that voltage down as low as we can, back, as close as we can to the other cells, so that when we put the battery back together, the computer won't notice the difference between the new cells that I'm putting in and the old cells. That way, when it starts to charge the batteries up, it's charging them all up at the same rate, and not some of the ones that have a higher voltage already and some of the ones that have a lower voltage. Of course, we're kind of assuming that, the capacity is where we want it. We could, take all of those cells out and load them down and then charge them all back up, or let the car charge them all back up individually, or not individually, but all as one at one time. But I'm just going to basically get these down, and then allow the computer to, see all of them at 7.5, and then let the computer charge them all back up at one time. So that's basically how I do it. I just use a Harbor Freight battery load tester and load them down, and I'll just keep doing this for about 5 minutes until it stops going over 7.5, 8, or 5.9. And right now, see, it's still at 7.6. So I have to keep doing this until it's resting around 7.5 volts. And then I'll go ahead and put them back in the car.